Bienvenidos to Pica Poco Kitchen. Today we're making cortadillo, Mexican dot cake. We can talk about that. Vámonos! Lately, my feed has been flooded with dot cake here, dot cake there, dot cake everywhere. And there's nothing wrong with that. It looks delicious. But it suddenly clicked. We've had dot cake at home since forever. We call it cortadillo, which literally translates to sliced up or little slices, even though I found recipes here in the US that call it Mexican pink cake, which it's right, because basically it is a yellow sheet cake with pink icing and a bunch of colorful nonpareils on top, or like we call them, colorful chochitos. It is simple, and you can find it in many panaderias in Mexico, everywhere. Probably not most people's favorite, but definitely very popular amongst kids because it has that whimsy and colorfulness. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I am weirdly attracted to pink foods. If it's pink, I have to try it. Just like Homer's pink donut. You know what I mean? And talking about whimsy, I thought this would be the best start for Pride Month. So let's get to it. We're gonna start with 1 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flours plus 1 teaspoon of baking powder. We are looking for a dense sponge, so all-purpose flour will be just fine. Don't forget to add a pinch of salt. Mix that well and our dry ingredients are ready. This is a small batch. I'm gonna leave in the description down below the recipe for the full 9 by 13 inch pan, and this one right here is for a 9 by 9. So set that aside and let's move on to the wet ingredients. To 3/4 of a cup of sugar, we're going to add the zest of 1 lemon. We are going to mix that with our hands, specifically with our fingers, rubbing and massaging that zest into the sugar, trying to release all the oils in the lemon and giving our sugar a flavor and a nice smell. I'm gonna move on to a bigger bowl this time, and to that I am going to add 3/4 of a cup of neutral oil. I'm going for vegetable oil, but you can go for avocado oil, canola oil, or even olive oil, but that one will have an effect on the flavor, which won't be bad, but it's going to be up to you. So give that a mix and integrate it well, because now we're going to add 3 whole eggs. I like to add them one at a time, give it a mix, and add the next one. If you don't want your bowl to dance like that, place a kitchen towel underneath your bowl. Let's continue with the wet ingredients. We're gonna add 2/3 of a cup of milk and we're going to whisk that well. We're looking to incorporate but also to coat the proteins of the milk with the oils from and the fat from the oil and the eggs, because I decided to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. By protecting the protein of the milk, we won't get curdles. Now, this is optional. You can skip the lemon and substitute it for more milk. To that, I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla and mix that well. Now, in 3 or 2 parts, introduce your dry ingredients. Give it a mix to incorporate, but don't over mix. This cake turns out already a little bit dense, so if you mix too much, you're gonna develop gluten, and that gluten is gonna make your sponge not just dense but rubbery. And we want it to still have a soft cake-like feel. So mix it until you don't see any streaks of flour, and we're gonna transfer it into our pan. In this case, I have a 9 by 9. I'm using a little bit of parchment just to make it easier for me to remove from the pan. We're gonna bake at 350 between 30 to 35 minutes. And here is my cake after 35 minutes. I'm gonna let it cool in a rack. I'm gonna demold it while still hot and let it cool down. All those little specks that you see in the cake are normal, don't worry about them. Those are just the little pieces of peel because they contain oils and that caramelizes inside the oven. Now, before we ice it, we need to let it completely cool down. Here I had a good idea that later I discarded. I was planning to get the bottom of my cake as a top. I don't know why I changed my mind in the end, but if you can, do it this way, and I'll tell you why in a second. So let it completely cool down, and while that happens, we're gonna make the icing. For that, I have 1 3/4 cups of powdered sugar, and I'm gonna be adding milk a little at a time. It's gonna be up to you on how runny or thick you want the icing to be. I made mine a little bit too runny. I ended up using 4 tablespoons of milk, so have that in mind. To that, I'm gonna add 3 drops of electric pink, neon pink, because that's the color that the traditional cake has, and I really like it. So mine turned out a little bit too runny, and that's the reason why I should have used the bottom part as my top. Since the top part of the cake was a little bit domey, some of the frosting ran to the sides, and that made the bottom of my cake get a little bit wet with the icing, and I wasn't a fan of that. So the flatter the top of your cake, the better will hold on to the icing. And now for the fun part, the colorful chochitos, the nonpareils. I love the shaker container. It made it really fun, and I really didn't want it to stop. I just wanted to keep going, sprinkling and sprinkling. And I guess everybody's making dot cakes because I had to go to different stores to find mine. Once you are happy with your cake, let it dry for at least 30 minutes. Otherwise, your cuts are going to be unclean. I've waited 30 minutes and I came back. As you can see, what I was telling you, that it dripped on the sides and that didn't dry out. I didn't wait for that. I had enough. So I went on and sliced my 9 by 9 into beautiful 9 pieces. And as for the question if Cortadillo is Mexican dot cake, I will say no because two similar things can exist with different names. If you don't believe me, ask Javier Bardem and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Both sweet. And here it is in all its colorful glory. Unapologetically simple, just a spongy cake with sweet icing. I think it hits exactly for that imaginary craving that we sometimes get. And I'm not saying make it for your birthday or a special occasion, unless that's what you're going for. But make it whenever you have that something sweet, something gay kind of moment, because you're gonna love it. And legend has it that every time you make a cortadillo, a fairy drag queen gets her lashes. So go ahead and make a bunch. I hope you enjoyed this recipe just like this video. And if you did, please share with your queer friends, like, subscribe, and be notified. And for more, follow me on the socials. Adios, amigues, and happy Pride!